David Barber-Hipp's 2014 book entitled Reflections on the Transformation of Industrial Aurora covers the rise and decline of industry in the city of Aurora, Illinois, from the early 1900s through 2010. Mr. Hipp's book is a fascinating portrayal of how Aurora's major industries were changed by virtue of their own success, as well as by competition, consumer choice, and economic challenges. This video has been produced by the Community Foundation of the Fox River Valley to honor the many business leaders from our past who helped Aurora grow and prosper during the first 60 years of the 20th century. The early 1900s was a time of entrepreneurial spirit, when men transformed their creative ideas into thriving businesses. Men like Captain C.H. Smith, Wiley Stevens, Frederick Adamson, David Pearson, Harry Barber, and William Greene. Aurora was chosen as the home base for many of these businesses due to its proximity to the railroads and the city of Chicago. In fact, the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad factory, which included the roundhouse, was located in Aurora. The roundhouse, built in 1855, housed train locomotives, which were built and repaired by local laborers. In addition to boosting Aurora's economy and providing jobs for its residents, locally owned companies became exemplary citizens of the community through civic and charitable involvement. Business leaders served on the many governing boards of the city and encouraged pride in Aurora's history. The owners and operators of these businesses cared about Aurora because their home was Aurora. In 1917, industrial leaders were involved in a campaign to support Aurora's City Hospital, which was located on Lincoln and Weston Avenues. In later years, the leaders spearheaded the capital drives of Aurora's 3 hospitals. Copley Memorial Hospital was located on the site of the old City Hospital at Lincoln and Weston Avenues. The hospital has since moved to Ogden Avenue in Aurora and is called the Rush Copley Medical Center. St. Joseph Mercy Hospital on North Lake Street is now Presence Fox Knoll Retirement Community. A new hospital, Presence Mercy Medical Center, replaced the original and is located on Highland Avenue. And the Art Deco St. Charles Hospital on East New York and 4th Streets later became a nursing home. In 2010, it was closed. In their early years, these 3 hospitals were faithfully supported by the Aurora business community. Aurora's leaders also were instrumental in raising needed funds for the Aurora YMCA and YWCA in the early 1900s. The YMCA was located on Downer and LaSalle Streets. The YWCA was centrally located in downtown Aurora on Downer Place and operated from this site until the early 1980s. Then, in later years, local leaders once again helped the 2 organizations with their new building campaigns. The YMCA built its facility on Garfield Avenue, and the YWCA constructed its building on North River Street. Several of the leaders were responsible for the formation of the Aurora Foundation, now called the Community Foundation of the Fox River Valley, which was founded to administer charitable funds for the benefit of local nonprofit organizations and students attending college. Finding ways to improve the future of Aurora and its citizens became a major focus for the city's business community. In his book, David Hipp emphasized how local ownership and management of its businesses contributed to Aurora's stability and uniqueness. He divided Aurora's larger companies into 4 sectors. The first is construction equipment. The second is factory and office equipment. Third is pumps and water processing equipment. And the fourth is other major manufacturers. While each company is deserving of having a video of its own to explore its founding and contributions to Aurora, the purpose of this video is to highlight three major businesses in the first sector, the construction equipment sector. Subsequent videos will focus on the other sectors. Construction equipment businesses are represented by Austin Western, Stevens-Adamson, and Barber-Greene. The first company, Austin Western, was located on Farnsworth Avenue in Aurora. It had its beginnings in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, when Captain C.H. Smith, Captain Beckwith, and Dr. McClure founded C.H. Smith and Company in 1877. The company assisted in the building of railroads through the grading of the land upon which the tracks were to be laid. Picks, shovels, and wheelbarrows were the tools used at that time, which made for dangerous, back-breaking work. The firm eventually designed a wheeled scraper to more efficiently move and smooth the earth. Later, Austin Western described the somewhat crudely designed scraper as the world's first road grader. Captain Smith, whose title was the result of his service in the Civil War, continued to improve the original scraper. As a result, his company received contracts to work on railroads in Iowa and Indiana. His improved wheeled scraper revolutionized construction methods. In 1891, Smith moved his company to Aurora and changed the firm name to the Western Wheeled Scraper Company, where he continued to manufacture scrapers. In 1901, Smith formed a corporation with his fierce competitor, F.C. Austin Manufacturing Company of Harvey, Illinois. The new firm, Austin Western Road Machinery Company, marketed both companies' products from offices in Chicago. The following year, Smith purchased the competitor company and renamed it the Austin Manufacturing Company. Smith now was in charge of three companies, two manufacturing businesses, and one marketing company. Then Smith oversaw the development of a line of dump cars that were used in the construction of the Panama Canal in the early 1900s. Over the years, these cars were greatly improved and became indispensable in earth-moving operations. Eventually, the company sold its products throughout the world and was considered the largest manufacturer of construction equipment. Captain Smith continued the management of the company until his passing in 1910. In 1934, his two manufacturing companies, Western Wheeled Scraper Company and Austin Manufacturing Company, merged to become the Western Austin Company, with Austin Western as a wholly owned subsidiary. The name Austin Western was affixed on the equipment after the merger. Over the years, the company built power shovels, cranes with snowplows, street sweepers, and reversible road graders, to name but a few. In the early 1950s, the firm was acquired by Baldwin Lima Hamilton, whose main headquarters were in Pennsylvania. 20 years later, Clark Equipment purchased the company. Then, in 1978, the Aurora location was closed. Captain Smith is an example of a local industrial leader who believed in giving back to his community. He and his wife Selma raised their three daughters in a beautiful home on West Park Avenue in Aurora. The home eventually became a shelter for children. The home was given to the Juvenile Protective Association in the 1940s by the Smith's daughter, Stella Smith Sensenbaugh, upon her mother's death in the mid-1940s. Stella named the home after her sister Edna, who was devoted to causes that nurtured and protected children. Edna and the third Smith sister, Genevieve, were killed in a traffic accident 20 years earlier. Stella, now the only remaining child of Captain and Mrs. Smith, made the generous decision to memorialize Edna's work with local youth by gifting the family home to benefit children. In the process, Stella Sensenbaugh became one of Aurora's greatest benefactors. The Smith girls learned the importance of sharing their personal resources with others through the examples provided by their parents. Fortunately for Aurora, philanthropy was an important part of Captain Smith's life, the founder of the Austin Western Company. The second Aurora company, which focused on construction equipment, was the Stevens-Adamson Manufacturing Company. SA, as it was called, was founded in 1901 by Frederick Adamson, Wiley Stevens, and David Pearson. The company was located on Ridgeway and Woodlawn Avenues. Originally, the company manufactured conveying equipment for handling flour and grain in mills and elevators. It then developed heavier types of conveyors to transport coal, metals, and stone from mining operations. A few years after its founding, SA began manufacturing pulleys, which provided the pull needed to move a loaded conveyor belt. The company also produced clutches, bearings, wheels, and chains. These were all important components of their conveying system. In 1911, the company designed an anti-friction belt conveyor idler, also referred to as a carrier. This design made SA a leader in the field of belt conveyors. Through the years, the engineers at SA pioneered every major improvement in the material handling industry. They were the first to equip conveyors with heavy-duty ball and roller bearings, the first to develop long-distance belt conveyors for moving coal from mines to loading docks several miles away. And they were the first to design the unique Redler conveyor elevator, in which coal, grain, and similar materials are moved through an enclosed casing. Their extensive line of conveyors included gravity and roller conveyors as well. By the 1930s, SA had offices in all of the major cities in the United States and Canada. In the late 1930s, the Schaefer Bearing Company of Chicago developed an innovative bearing and needed a facility to produce the product. That was the beginning of a new division of Stevens-Adamson, which was named Sealmaster Bearings. Sealmaster was originally located at the SA facility, and then in 1967, it moved to a new location on Bilter Road in Aurora. During World War II, Stevens-Adamson worked with the United States Navy, designing ship-to-ship and ship-to-shore loading systems which expedited the transport of military supplies around the world. In 1950, the company produced innovative designs for speedwalks, which are today's moving sidewalks, carveyors, in which people rode in small cubicles along a speedwalk, and speed ramps, which were elevated ramps for luggage and small handcarts. Although the projects were never finalized, SA received a great deal of publicity for its innovative efforts. The company eventually sold the product line to Goodyear in the late 1960s. In addition to its many successes, the company also became a leader in the market for self-unloading bulk cargo vessels. There seemed to be no end to its innovative thinking. By this time, the company was operating worldwide. It maintained plants in the United States, Canada, Europe, and Australia. In 1969, the Stevens-Adamson Company was purchased by the Borg-Warner Corporation, and Sealmaster became part of Borg-Warner's Morse Chain division. In 1974, the bulk materials handling operations of SA were sold to Allis-Chalmers. Svedala Industries acquired Stevens-Adamson from Allis-Chalmers in the late 1980s, and the Ridgeway plant was closed. Finally, Stevens-Adamson held its 100th anniversary in 2001 and became a division of Mezzo Minerals. The Stevens-Adamson name continues, but it no longer is a part of Aurora. In 1983, the Morse Chain and its Sealmaster operations were acquired by the Emerson Electric Company. In 2008, Emerson closed the Aurora Sealmaster facility. Through all of the company's changes in ownership, the underlying principle of Stevens-Adamson did not change. The conveyor system was an efficient and cost-effective way to transport a large volume of materials, and in the process, working conditions for employees were improved as dangerous and difficult manual labor was left to machines. The founders of Stevens-Adamson were innovative in their responses to the unmet needs identified within their industry, and they managed a company that was civic-minded and community-focused. Wiley Stevens served as secretary of the Fox River Valley Manufacturing Association in Aurora, the predecessor of today's Valley Industrial Association. SA founder David Pearson and Wiley Stevens' son Lee received praise in the local media for playing prominent roles in developing the city of Aurora and promoting the welfare of its citizens. The company itself sponsored an active social and athletic association run by employees. The Sealmaster softball team was enthusiastically promoted by Charlie Hurd, Stevens-Adamson's vice president in charge of the Sealmaster division. The team won national and world championships in the 1950s and 1960s due to the brilliant pitching of Harvey Sterkel and the talents of players like Leroy Hess, Chick Walsh, Charlie Essig, Frank Hurt, Bob Barron, Charlie Richard, and many others. Rod Handlin, author of the Aurora, Illinois Industrial Evolution, poignantly portrayed the end of the Stevens-Adamson Sealmaster presence in Aurora by reminiscing about its softball team. Although the ball field on Ridgeway Avenue is now a storage yard, many can still visualize the ghosts of those long-ago diamond heroes, or recall with a smile their dreams of someday becoming a Sealmaster star as they honed their skills on SA's Little League team. The closing of the Stevens-Adamson and Sealmaster Bearings facilities in Aurora was indeed the end of an era for the community and its citizens. The third Aurora company, which focused on construction equipment, was Barber-Greene. Barber-Greene was founded in 1916 by Harry H. Barber and William B. Greene. Both men were raised on farms, and both were graduates of the University of Illinois, earning degrees in mechanical engineering. As fellow employees of the Stevens-Adamson Company, they became good friends and decided to venture out on their own to create a new business. Their business would design and produce conveyors and bucket loaders to raise the productivity of coal yards. The two made ideal partners. Barber had the inquisitive mind of an inventor and was responsible for the design and manufacture of the new equipment. Greene was deeply interested in the social implications of machinery, so he became the promoter of their labor-saving efforts and oversaw the finance and administration of the business. They agreed to name their business the Barber-Greene Company. The founding date was October 21st, 1916. By the end of the year, Barber had built a self-feeding bucket loader for cement clinkers. He also designed a portable belt conveyor for coal yards. Both product lines were successful. The company was on its way. Initially, Barber worked out of the basement of his home, developing new products. Greene used the Barber's guest room as the company's first office. Barber's typewriter became Greene's companion as he produced letterhead, marketing materials, and invoices on the vintage machine. The actual manufacturing of those products was subcontracted to W.S. Fraser & Company, whose business of making horse-drawn carriages was becoming obsolete. This resulted in an increase in available space for the new company to assemble its products. By the end of 1917, the company had its own facility in Aurora. The first decade of the business was one of technical accomplishment and growth. In 1922, Barber developed a ditcher that was able to dig in coral rock. The company envisioned great success in Florida during the land boom in 1926. However, a shortage of railroad cars to transport the rock resulted in reduced expectations. In the area of concrete road construction, the firm made loaders to transfer sand and gravel into trucks. The trucks then hauled the products to the cement mixers on the roadway. Barber-Greene almost had a monopoly on providing these services. Then, in 1929, the partners were introduced to asphalt for upgrading existing gravel roads at a relatively low cost. The company soon began producing asphalt road machines, and business looked promising. But the Great Depression hit the industry hard in the early 1930s. Interestingly, the ditchers, produced by the company to make life easier for workers, became a symbol for lost jobs, and some of the equipment was bombed on the job sites. By 1936, the company finally saw a profit again, and that profit accelerated during World War II when the demand for roads and airport runways dramatically increased in the United States, Europe, and North Africa. Barber-Greene became a big business during the war due to the need for the company's paving technology. Harry's son, H.A. Ash Barber, joined the firm in 1933. By the end of World War II, Harry was beginning to suffer from health issues, and Ash took over many of his father's responsibilities. The company flourished from 1946 to 1966. W.B. Greene opened up the company to partnerships with foreign countries, which gave Barber-Greene a worldwide presence. By 1954, Ash Barber replaced Greene as president, and Greene became chairman of the board. In the late 1950s, the need for capital required the company to go public. This made it possible for Barber-Greene to merge with Smith Engineering Works of Milwaukee. The Smith division of Barber-Greene was called Telsmith. By the mid-1960s, Barber-Greene operated plants in Aurora and DeKalb. But the business was in trouble due to the emergence of competitors and a slowdown in demand for the company's products. After years of study, Ash Barber instituted a new management style based upon the decentralization of decision-making. The company had grown to the point where one person could not possibly be responsible for making every decision. Ash Barber's strategic plan saw the company earnings per share rise, fall, and rise again. By 1975, the earnings per share reached a high of $3.40. Ash Barber had put into place a system that turned the company around. In 1971, he stepped down to allow Anthony "Tony" Greene to assume the presidency. The system Barber implemented did not match his personal management style, so he removed himself from the day-to-day operations and became chairman of the board. Also at that time, Anthony's brother, William Alexander Greene, was appointed vice president of administration and secretary of the company. And Urban Hipp became the vice president of finance and treasurer. Then, 3 international incidents had a devastating impact on Barber-Greene. First, the 1973 oil embargo by the Middle East saw the price of oil triple. Since asphalt is petroleum-based, its price escalated faster than governments could raise taxes to fund the paving of roads. Thus, the demand for paving equipment was greatly reduced. Barber-Greene responded by developing ways of recycling old asphalt, and then entered into new markets. The second international incident was the 1979 overthrow of the Shah of Iran. Barber-Greene was a subcontractor for a $17 million order of tunneling equipment for Iran. The shipment was in transit when the Shah was overthrown. No payment and expensive litigation weakened the company's financial position. The third international incident was the tripling of oil prices by OPEC, which led to high inflation, 18% interest rates, and a worldwide contraction of demand for construction equipment. Barber-Greene suffered huge losses and, under pressure from banks and long-term lenders, was forced to sell its business to Aztec Industries of Tennessee. Mobile equipment was moved to DeKalb in 1986, and the Aurora plant was closed. The DeKalb operation was sold to Caterpillar in the late 1980s. Caterpillar moved the operation to Minnesota in the early 2000s. Like the founders of Austin Western and Stevens-Adamson, those associated with Barber-Greene also gave back to their hometown. W.B. Greene was a charter member of the Aurora Foundation, serving as its president for 13 years. He also was a director of Aurora College and a member of the Aurora Kiwanis Club, the Aurora Chamber of Commerce, Illinois State Chamber of Commerce, and the University of Illinois Foundation. In later years, he wrote 3 poignant memoirs, which are now in electronic format. These books appear on the Community Foundation website. In 2011, the Community Foundation produced a video of the lives of W.B. Greene and his wife, Jane. This also is on the Foundation's website. William B. Greene eloquently summed up his thoughts on the purpose of his partnership with Harry H. Barber. Our role has been to ease the physical burdens of mankind. Our machines dig the ditches, shovel the coal, build the roads, and do those dirty, rough, heavy jobs formerly assigned to our newest immigrants. We have often had the satisfaction of seeing a laborer transferred from a ditch to the controls of a machine, thereby acquiring a new dignity and a new outlook for himself and his children. Saying goodbye to the Barber-Greene Company was heart-wrenching for Aurora. Yet, the ingenuity of Harry Barber and the words of W.B. Greene will remain with us forever. In spite of the many losses of Aurora's home-owned and home-managed industrial businesses, David Hipp's concluding words in his book on the transformation of industrial Aurora were positive. I'm still an optimist. Who knows what the future might become if we have climates that encourage entrepreneurship? Yes, who knows what the future holds? The next chapter on Aurora's transformation is yet to be written.